Unexpectedly positive pregnancy test threw my marriage into turmoil as my husband fears his age while I'm drawn to motherhood. I'm 42 and unexpectedly pregnant. My head and my heart don't agree about what to do. I have no children. My husband is 65 years old. We've been together for 20 years, married for 12. Yes, we're both aware of the large age gap. It was nothing either of us was looking for, but we met and we clicked, and I'm still so incredibly in love with him. One major thing we discussed early on was children. He has 4 children with his first wife. They're all adults, some with kids of their own now. He told me when we first started dating that he didn't want any more children. It took me a while to decide if I wanted to pursue a serious relationship with a man who had children with somebody else and didn't want any more. I had never felt 100% sure about having kids of my own anyway. I ultimately decided that I was okay with not having kids. I've been happy in my life with him, although I have sometimes felt a hole in my heart regarding not having children. I think I especially started to feel it when my much younger sister had a baby, and then when my husband's kids had their babies. Being around all of these little ones made me wonder what I had maybe missed out on. I'm very early on in my pregnancy right now. It was not planned. I started to worry that I might be pregnant and felt very mixed about it. At times I felt excited and hopeful, and at other times I felt completely dread. I figured my period would eventually come, and when I thought about that I felt disappointed but somewhat relieved. But my period didn't come. I took a test once my period was a week late, and it immediately showed a positive result without even needing to wait the full time. My heart wants this baby. I think deep down I regret not having a child of my own and fear the regret will fester as I grow older. I also love my husband so much that I want to have his baby. I've always been quietly and privately jealous that his ex-wife shares 4 children with him. My head knows this is stupid. I'm 42 but my husband is 65 years old. He's a grandfather. His oldest kid is just a year younger than me. He doesn't want to have a baby now. It's not right to have a baby because I made a decision that I regret. I know that. We're both too old to do this now. I know what I really have to do, but I'm sad and angry about it. Really just sad and angry with myself. I think I could have accepted never having children, but allowing myself to get pregnant has really been like a form of self-torture. It would be totally selfish to have this baby, right? No, I'm not asking the internet to decide what I do here. I just want honest opinions. I'm not sharing this information with any of my loved ones at this time, and I may never share it with them. I know they would give me biased feedback anyway. So please, tell me how bad would it be if I did this instead of what I know I probably should do? I want to thank everyone who commented on my first post asking if it was selfish for my husband and I to have a baby at our ages. I received some good feedback and perspectives. I appreciate the honesty of some of the comments. This isn't really a rant, but just sort of me pouring my heart out somewhere, since I'm choosing to not share this information with anyone in my life quite yet. I'm 42 and he's 65. I'm 7 weeks pregnant, although I haven't been to the doctor to confirm anything yet. I track my cycle very closely, so I feel pretty confident about how far along I am. It wasn't planned or expected at all. We had planned to never have kids because he was already done having kids by the time I let him when he was 45, and he made it very clear. I think having this baby would be a very selfish thing to do, but I can no longer deny that I really want this baby for me. I feel a huge hole in my life not being a mother to my own child. A bigger hole than I could ever let myself admit. I didn't feel this longing back when I met my husband or years later when we married. I never felt like being a mom was a huge dream of mine or a requirement for my life. When I made my original post, I think I was looking for reasons to go through with an abortion. Not consciously. I just felt that's what I should do and wanted more reason to do the right thing. So if complete strangers agree that yes, it would be incredibly selfish to have a baby, then I'd be able to tell myself that my fantasies of this baby and ever becoming a mom were best left as fantasies, and it would help wake me up to reality. 2 days after I posted here, my younger sister sent me a picture of a positive pregnancy test. She's pregnant with her second baby. What are the chances that my sister would be pregnant right now? Of course I was happy for her, but I felt so sad for myself. When I told my husband, he just said that's nice, with seemingly no comprehension of how much my sister's news stung me. Then at work the next day my coworker was talking about needing to take a pregnancy test because she thought she might be pregnant, which triggered a whole group conversation about people's pregnancy experiences. Needless to say, I was feeling pretty sad and sorry for myself when I went home that day. My husband asked what was wrong. I told him nothing, I was fine. He said he knew something was wrong. I had sad eyes. I told him I'm dealing with things he cannot understand, but that it's my problem to deal with and unknown what the right things to do is, and I'm just going to be sad for a little while. It's like he still didn't know exactly what I was referring to, and then he realized and asked, "Is this about the baby?" Of course it is. It's been the only thing I've been thinking about since I saw the positive pregnancy test. I feel tortured over this. To him, it was already a foregone conclusion that I wasn't continuing the pregnancy. So again he said I'm 65 years old, we've talked about this. I'll be over 70 years old by the time the kid is in kindergarten. It's not fair to do that to a kid. I told him I know and I understand. I realize it'd be selfish to him and to a child. I told him to leave me alone and let me cry over it for a while. Then later he asked me if I was going to leave him over this and that he knows I could find a younger man who would be willing to have a child, since there's still time for me. I told him now, because I'm not considering leaving him at all. I love him with all my heart and I don't want to be with anybody else, even if it might mean I could have a baby. I don't even know if I could easily get pregnant again and my chances will only continue to drop. I don't even want a baby just for the sake of having a baby and experiencing motherhood. I want to carry my husband's baby. I want to be the mother of his children. I asked him if he'd leave me if I insisted on having the baby. He said no. He said he thinks I'd be a fantastic mother and he'd love to see me have his baby and he's thought about it over the years, but he doesn't think he can be the type of dad a kid needs at this point. He doesn't want to die before they've even graduated high school or leave me to handle everything on my own. Also, it'll change everything about our lives and our plans. Right now we can basically go do whatever we want when we want and all of that will end. But he also said he can't stand to see me so sad and questions what will happen if I can't ever get over this. So, now he's not saying absolutely no. He told me to go to the doctor to even see if this is a healthy viable pregnancy so far and then we'll talk. Of course, the longer I remain pregnant the more attached I get to this idea and the harder it'll be for me to go through with anything. I feel a mixture of pure happiness, like overwhelming all over my body happiness, but also dread. I was able to jump on an appointment with my OB-GYN this coming Tuesday due to a cancellation that was happening right when I was calling to make an appointment. I'm trying to brace myself for any news I might receive. Update 1. I've posted a few times about my pregnancy. I'm 42 and pregnant for the first time. My husband is 65, father of 4 adult kids and doesn't want more. I went to the doctor yesterday to confirm the pregnancy. I'm 8 weeks, 1 day pregnant, which is exactly in line with my calculations. Everything seems normal as far as the pregnancy goes so far. They did a transvaginal ultrasound and I heard the heartbeat. My doctor says everything looks and sounds just as it should at this stage, and she sees no reason to not proceed with the pregnancy if it's what I choose to do. Her goal is to help me have the healthiest, safest pregnancy possible, and while there are increased risks associated with my age, it's really nothing out of the ordinary these days. She went over the genetic tests available and what she would recommend based on my age and concerns. She could also refer me to a genetic counselor based on my age alone, even without having any red flags at this time. I got out of there and went to my car and just cried. I had a pity party for myself, let me be honest. When I got home my husband asked me how it went. I told him it was fine, everything normal, I'm 8 weeks pregnant just like I knew I was. I also told him I was having an abortion. I told him I know that's what I need to do. It's the right thing to do. I'm just going to cry about it and be sad for a little while, but I'll be fine. It would be selfish to him and the future person I'd give birth to. I missed my chance. Maybe if this had happened 10 years ago, or if I had realized back then that I had this longing for a baby we could have talked about it and made a decision less influenced by our ages. Just because I'm pregnant now doesn't mean this is fate or any sort of special sign from the universe that I'm supposed to have this baby. Plus, what if something goes wrong? Or what if I just really end up regretting it and making a decision so totally based on emotions that I can't take back? I like my life. I've survived this long without having children, I can keep living this way and being happy with a more certain future and my freedom. I went to the bedroom to just lay there and cry. He came in and said, "You don't really feel that way, do you?" I told him to not question how I feel because that's only going to make it worse. He said he's fine with me making a decision and he's not telling me to not terminate, but he doesn't believe I'm actually making a decision based on what I want to do at all. If I'm going to spend the rest of my life acting like a martyr over it, he'd rather I just have the baby. It's not about me being a martyr. I know from a rational place that I shouldn't have the baby. I wish I could let my emotions win, but I just can't seem to let my emotions have any say. I really wish I could be selfish this once, that I could just let myself and deal with the consequences later. Update 2. I've posted about my pregnancy a few times very recently. I'm 42 and my husband is 65. We have no kids together. He has 4 adult children from his first marriage. My last update a few days ago was that I had been to the doctor to confirm my pregnancy and that I was 8 weeks along. As of a few days ago, I was planning to terminate because I felt it was the right, least selfish thing to do. I really wanted to have the baby, but I felt like wanting it was just not a good reason to justify bringing another human into the world. It probably still isn't a good enough reason, but my husband has convinced me to be selfish and to do this simply because I want to. I'm deliriously happy. I'm only about 5 weeks pregnant and I know that due to my age I'm at increased risk of miscarriage, but I just had to go buy a bunch of baby things today to make it real and perhaps to say there's no turning back now. It felt wonderful. My husband even reacted enthusiastically as I showed him everything I bought. He was happy that I was happy and he said this is much better than how I've been acting the past few days. My husband told me he knew that an abortion was not what I wanted. I admitted that no, it wasn't what I wanted at all, but I just couldn't get over the guilt of doing something this serious and this big simply because I wanted it. He asked me why I'm always holding myself to this strict moral code, and for whom? He said sometimes you just have to be selfish and it's okay, screw anyone who is going to judge me for having a baby. I'm 42, not 15, he says this will be a totally different experience for him. His first child was born over 40 years ago. He worked a lot of the time and was away from home. Now, he's retired. I work part-time and if I want to I don't have to work at all. He says we can afford it, maybe even get a nanny to help, I don't know how I feel about that. He resents that anyone would think he couldn't keep up with a toddler. He's almost turned it into a challenge for himself. He told me he wants to have a baby together, he wants me to have his baby and it makes him feel good and wanted that I want to have his baby too. He even said he has been selfish, which I don't agree with, and that I was right when I said he can't possibly know how I feel regarding this child-sized hole and missing out on motherhood. Ultimately, he told me he won't tell me what to do, but he thinks we should proceed with the pregnancy and see what happens. He said the only factor I needed to consider was whether I wanted it or not. He told me he'd get over his whole not wanting more kids thing, don't worry about him. In the other hand, he doubted I'd ever get over this. If I wanted it, I needed to just jump off the cliff and do it and enjoy it. So I decided to jump off the cliff and I feel overwhelmed with joy. I didn't want to terminate it all. I already love being pregnant. I love every bit of it, even the morning sickness, which doesn't ever come in the morning, BTW, and the achy breasts. I love every bit of it. I want to experience it all. I do plan to wait until at least 12 weeks to tell loved ones. I'm nervous about some of their reactions, but at this point I don't think any criticism could really touch me. I almost feel like I'm floating. I'm so happy. I'm not even going to consider any other option. There is no if, just yes. I'm due on October 15th. Anyone out there due around that time? Some of you may remember that I posted about 1.5 months ago because I was conflicted about whether I should continue my pregnancy or not. I'm 42 and while I wasn't too overly concerned about my age, my husband is 65 and had made it clear from the start of our relationship that he was done having kids. Ultimately, I decided to continue the pregnancy barring any devastating results found during prenatal testing. First hurdle done. Everything came back low risk on the NIPT. I had made myself sick waiting for the results. I'm just ecstatic now. And the test says we're having a girl. I already have a name picked out and everything. It's so hard to pace myself. I want to start planning the nursery next, but my husband keeps telling me to slow down. I'm in my second trimester now, so chances of something happening are much lower and get lower with each passing day. I had some morning sickness, but that's past. My main symptom now is some bloating, no actual bump, and extremely sore breasts. My breasts have already grown 2 full cup sizes. When I have a bra on, it looks like I got a major boob job. It's weird, I feel less pregnant now than I did at 8 to 9 weeks. I think we're going to tell his kids soon. They're all adults and 3 of them have kids of their own. They may need some time to adjust to the news, understandably. I know we could wait longer, but I don't see any reason to. I feel like they might take it worse if we wait until 16 to 20 weeks, plus I hope to be showing by then. Yes, this is my one and only pregnancy I'll ever experience and I want to experience it all. I also don't know if it's best to just tell them very straightforward or do some sort of cute announcement. I want to do a cute announcement, but I'm not sure if they'd appreciate that. What do you all think? How did you announce to family and friends? His adult kids are going to be the first people we tell. Well, I told my sister already, but I'll be announcing to the rest of my family and friends soon. I'm mostly just nervous about his kids. I get along great with them, but they're so close to my age that it's never been a step-parent/stepchild relationship. I hope they'll accept it and be happy for us, but I will also understand if they have other feelings. He has grandkids that will be older than our baby and I get that it could be awkward for some. Okay, even though I've already shared that I feel really silly stating this every time, people have told me to keep doing it. I'm 42 and my husband is 65. I'm pregnant with our first baby. He has 4 adult kids from his previous marriage. Last time I posted I had asked for input about telling his kids about my pregnancy. I decided that all of the comments about not doing a cute announcement were probably the way to go. I was already strongly leaning toward not doing it, but I thank those who gave their opinions. It was always the plan for my husband to be the one who actually told them. It wasn't going to come out of my mouth first. Originally I thought that maybe we would have them all over for dinner and tell them in person, without anything cutesy involved. I started to get nervous about it. I told my husband maybe he should just call them each or text them. He said he wasn't going to tell them via text. He told me he's never shared any sort of serious news with them via text, just doesn't feel right to him. He said he understands and appreciates that I'm sensitive to his kids' feelings, but they're adults who need to accept that their opinions don't matter in our decision on this topic and that if he's agreeing to having this baby I'm not allowed to start hiding as happy I am, for his kids' sake. I told him ultimately he could decide since they're his kids. So he decided to tell them in person. He said he felt they could all handle it and he felt better telling them in person. I think he was very sensitive to their possible feelings when he actually announced it, but also let them know our decision has been made, it's not open for discussion. It was all very uncomfortable for me. They were very surprised. Reactions were a bit mixed, but I expected that. 1 son and 1 daughter seemed to be fine with it, not expecting the news at all, but I'd almost say they're happy for us. Those are the 2 kids I'd say he's closest to. He's close to all of his kids, but I think he has closer, more special bonds to those 2. They both congratulated me, hugged me, seemed to be genuinely smiling when talking to us about it. His other son was like, "Are you sure this is a good idea?" He essentially expressed that he thinks it's a crazy thing for his dad to do. He specifically said he can understand me wanting to have a baby but not his dad. Since then he's talked to my husband and told him he thinks it's weird, but he understands it's our life and our choice and he's not mad at his dad about it. It was only his oldest daughter who reacted badly. I shouldn't say badly because she's entitled to feel how she feels and those feelings are valid. She didn't say anything, and after about a minute she got up and went into another room and closed the door. My husband said to just let her go, and then after about 5 minutes he went and talked to her. When she came back to where everybody was, it was obvious she had been crying. She stayed quiet most of the evening after that. His oldest daughter is the one who is only a year younger than me. She's also very close to her mom and very loyal to her mom. It took her the longest to warm up to me, and I'd say I'm the least close with her out of all his kids. I expected her to be upset. Honestly, I understand. I'd probably react the same way if I were in her shoes. It still made me cry after everyone left. Maybe I should have talked to her myself, but I figure I'm not the person she'd want to talk to. I just hate knowing something I've done has upset somebody like that. She doesn't think it's fair for me to force him to have a baby now because I want one, that I missed my chance and just have to deal with it. I don't know everything she told him because he said it'll just upset me unnecessarily. His kids obviously told his ex-wife right away. I noticed she had been texting him a lot. I don't look through his phone. We just don't guard our phones, and he frequently asks me to check texts and respond for him when he's driving or busy doing something else. I admit I was curious about what she was saying, so I read her texts. She thinks he's stupid and is shocked he didn't already have a vasectomy. She assumed he did, and that was the only reason I didn't get pregnant 20 years ago when we met, especially considering he apparently didn't even want them to have their fourth baby. But she also said their oldest daughter will be fine once she has some time to process it. Apparently she's always reacted this way to the news of a new sibling. Update 3. What a surreal, wild ride the last 6 weeks have been. When I look at the calendar, or touch my little barely there bump, I barely recognize my old self, that quiet, anxious woman living mostly in her head and fearing her own joy. This update is long, and there's a lot, but my life just stopped feeling ordinary. First, I'm officially 17 weeks, past the real anxiety of the first trimester, and, somehow, every test keeps coming back clean. My OB must think I'm a hypochondriac because I keep booking appointments for every twitch, cramp, or crumbling thought, but so far this little girl is rolling on and healthy. We saw her on the last scan flailing fists like a tiny boxer. My husband, bless him, truly, got teary, which for a man who keeps his composure even when the car makes a new noise, was kind of earth-shattering. But it also made the room feel softer somehow. If you're following along for the family dynamics, buckle up, a lot has happened. I'll start with the biggest shocker. My stepkid's reactions are evolving in ways I never could have scripted, and that includes some really beautiful moments. His oldest daughter, the one who left the room crying when we told them? I saw her at the grocery store of all places, and while I was bracing for awkwardness, she walked straight over and, okay, it's still weird to write, handed me a tiny, soft, sage green bunny. She said, "Mom got me one just like this when my sister was born and I hated her at first." I don't hate your baby. I was just surprised. It was a quick, almost whispered confession, but I nearly broke down in the freezer section. This isn't to say we're suddenly best friends, far from it, but I counted it as a huge, quiet olive branch. Her brother, the one who'd asked if this was really a good idea, stopped questioning it altogether. Instead, he emailed me, his way, an Excel spreadsheet called the official list of things new parents should not buy. It was half totally practical advice: no wipe warmer, you'll never use it, trust me, and half ridiculous: don't let dad Google hipster strollers. I laughed so hard I cried. I sent him back a picture of one of the impractical adorable rompers I'd just bought. He replied, "Good luck resisting, I failed too." And the grandkids, this part I absolutely did not see coming. The oldest, who is 11, made me a congratulations card that had more emojis than words but also asked, "Does this mean I'll have an aunt who is a baby?" His mom called me later, a little sheepish, to apologize for any weirdness, but I told her honestly it made my whole week. Family is already getting messy in the best way. But the most unexpected twist, and honestly the hardest for me to write about, is what's happening with my own sister. She's about 18 weeks now, just ahead of me, and our first couple of lunches after I told her were flat intense. She admitted she was jealous of the drama at first. Her pregnancy has been sort of a non-event in the family compared to the craziness on my side. I get it, totally. But then at my last appointment, I found out our due dates are a week apart. We went into this little tailspin together, imagining our babies growing up like cousins but also something stranger, a little tribe, with 2 mothers who spent their lives in the same house and then gave birth almost together at 42 and 35. We started a joint pregnancy journal. She took me to her prenatal yoga class and told all the other younger moms I was her big sister, and yes, she's the badass who's pregnant at 42. I think we both needed that, something to bind us in excitement, not just nerves and comparison. As for my husband, well, if there is such a thing as a second wind for fathers, he's chasing it. He's on this weird health kick: daily walks, protein smoothies, one spectacular failed attempt at chair yoga. I think watching me physically change, seeing the belly, has made this all suddenly real for him in a new way. His favorite party trick now is telling people, with a totally straight face, "We'll have a toddler in the house for my 70th birthday, and then watching the mixture of awe and horror. He's bought parenting books, they've changed, you know? They don't recommend spanking anymore. Was that ever really popular? And he keeps making lists, so many lists, of things we'll need, things we should do, places we should go before the baby. He wants us to create all these memories now, just us, before our lives are split before and after again. But it's not all a Hallmark movie. I had a scare 2 weeks ago, sudden pain, then spotting, then hours in the ER convinced I'd lost her. It was nothing, apparently, a blood vessel, a subchorionic hematoma, common and non-threatening, but the hours of not knowing undid me. My husband was white as a sheet, holding my hand so hard I thought he'd never let go. When the doctor finally found a healthy heartbeat, we both wept like new parents at 22, not 42 and 65. It put everything in sharp focus. It also gave my husband reason to nag me, put your feet up more, and suddenly I'm not allowed to pick up the grocery bags. Another twist, his ex-wife called me. It was maybe the strangest phone call of my life. She started businesslike, I just thought we should talk, woman to woman. Long story short, she's made her peace with the whole thing, after apparently being furious at first, but asked, point blank, what it feels like to be starting as a mom at my age. I told her the truth. Some days I'm scared and overwhelmed, but mostly I'm giddy, like I've stumbled onto a bit of magic nobody expected. We wound up talking for almost an hour, mostly about what a difficult, beautiful, insane thing motherhood is, and she told me, quietly, after making a joke about training dad again, that she wishes us joy. It wasn't forgiveness I needed, but maybe blessing, and I got it in a way. So, that's where we are. My house is filled with baby stuff and step-grandkids and laughter and, sometimes, real tears. My husband is reading baby books and Google diagnosing himself, do you think I'll die before she finishes high school? And mostly just grinning, giddy, and half in disbelief. I can officially say my fears haven't all disappeared, but they've grown quieter. I'm letting myself be selfish for the first time in my life. I'm letting joy take up space. Another update, because the only thing more surreal than my first half of this year might be the way the universe seems determined to keep throwing curveballs at me, but for once, I think I'm actually ready to start catching them. So now I'm 23 weeks, officially big enough that no one, even a distracted coworker or sleep-deprived barista, could possibly dismiss my belly as too many donuts. The baby is kicking like crazy in the evenings, sometimes enough to make me yelp, which my husband finds endlessly funny. She's trying to do the can-can before she has knees. More on him in a second, because his second wind and grand veteran dad skills are now the stuff of daily legend in our house. Let's start with the latest family drama, because it's actually become something I'd almost call heartwarming. I know, I'm as shocked as anyone. You'll remember my stepkids' reactions were all over the map. Well, plot twist. The oldest daughter, who had barely spoken to me since her teary Irish exit, sent me a text last Saturday afternoon, can I come by? I said yes, fully bracing myself for awkward silences and forced small talk. Instead, she arrived with a bag from Target, handed it to me with a shy smile, and said, I figured she'd need her own security blankie. It was a silly baby blanket, impossibly soft, covered in tiny giraffes. I nearly started sobbing on the spot. She sat with me in our kitchen, drank an entire mug of tea with both hands like she used to as a kid. Her dad says she always did this when she was nervous, and finally said, honestly, I thought dad was having a midlife crisis, except, too late. She laughed and so did I, cautiously at first, then absolutely cracking up. She apologized for being cold and said, I love dad, I'm just protective, of you and our family. But I see how happy you are. I want to meet my new sister, even if it makes me the only person I know who is both sister and older than mom to a baby. We made jokes, real ones, about what it means to be nearly 42 with a stepsister who isn't even born. She gets it. She's starting to welcome our girl, and me, in a way I never thought would happen. What's even wilder? 2 nights later, the Excel spreadsheet son and his partner called with an idea. We want to throw you a shower. Not a baby shower, but a you actually made it out of the first 20 weeks without running away screaming shower. I protested that this was weird and excessive, but then the 4 grandkids assembled behind their parents on our video call, each holding up a paper sign. They spelled welcome, cousin. Except the littlest one wrote cousin and her brother kept laughing and saying it was like a cow and a Zen master. Our baby's going to have a cheering section, whether she understands the family tree or not. On the home front, my husband is, well, living his best late 60s dad life. He's become the guy who researches parenting gadgets obsessively at 2 a.m., then shows up for breakfast with wild new ideas. His current obsession, night lights. Did you know there are circadian rhythm matching night lights now? I did not. He's bought 3. The parts of Amazon's baby section no man should ever look at have become his hunting ground, and thanks to him our house is littered with items like baby sleep sacks, teething rings, a European stroller, imported because safety ratings, babe, and, unbelievably, an inflatable baby bathtub with a built-in temperature gauge. At least twice a week he mutters, it's all so different now. No wonder your mom refused to let you near the old plastic bath seats. He's been reading French parenting books and quoting them, too, which might be a new peak in the long list of ways his curiosity constantly surprises me. But things aren't only growing on the practical parent prep front. Since the day I crossed into the safe zone of mid-pregnancy, he's gotten playful and weird, the way he was when we first met, long walks, secret picnics at the park, surprise date nights when I feel huge and tired and don't want to move. He says it's his way of soaking in the last of the justice. I think it's also him making memories for her. He jokes about how much she'll miss out on since he's ancient, but I think deep down this is him creating souvenirs. He's taken to talking to my belly, telling her stories about how he grew up without seat belts or bike helmets and that he promises to be more careful with her. Sometimes his voice cracks, and more than once I've found him staring at the little ultrasound pictures with the same look he had the day we got married, equal parts joy and disbelief. My relationship with my own sister, meanwhile, has fully blossomed into beautiful, comedic co-misery. We're officially bump buddies. We booked a 3D ultrasound together, her baby smiled, mine appeared to flick us off. We laughed so hard the tech said, "You two should have your own show." Our joint pregnancy journal is now mostly illustrations of things that annoy us about pregnancy, her, can't eat sushi, me, heartburn is real and cruel, and weird cravings. She now insists on sending me a new pregnant at 40 plus meme every Monday. On tough days, I remember our inside joke, who else gets a front row seat to their own family reboot? But the world hasn't stopped spinning just because I'm preoccupied with nursery paint chips and breast pump reviews. I had a real scare last week when I fainted, out of nowhere, in a Target. Not glamorous. Turns out, just a combo of low blood sugar and standing too long. But it made me realize, again, that I am not 25 and invincible, that it's okay to let people care for me, and to actually listen to my OB when she says hydrate and snack, and, seriously, take it easy. My husband basically threatened to install a LoJack on my phone and demanded I stop going shopping alone. He called his niece, an ER nurse, who now texts me every 2 days to check if I've eaten. The level of family involvement is unreal, and I never thought I'd feel grateful for this odd, sometimes suffocating, but deeply loving circus. And, small but huge to my hormonal brain, the ex-wife has sent a card. It was simple: "Congratulations, sincerely. Be good to yourself in this wild little miracle." Underneath was a second note: P.S. Tell him I was always right about bouncer chairs. I actually teared up. Who knew we'd ever be here, genuinely wishing each other well and trading tips. One more thing, we've started therapy together. Not for crisis, just to make sure we're ready for everything. My therapist is the queen of tough questions. We've talked about everything from how to talk to our daughter about her dad's age someday, to what if something happens to either of us, to how we can make space for all the complicated, and maybe sometimes sad, feelings that might bubble up. It's grounding. And freeing. Honestly, I wish I'd started this earlier. I'll wrap this up, though I could write forever, with this: at night, when my husband and I get into bed, he always puts his hand on my belly and says, "Well, what's our adventure tomorrow?" And every day, there's some new, sometimes scary, sometimes hilarious, always unexpected, piece of the adventure that I get to share. Yes, I'm tired, and, sure, sometimes I wake up dreading what new "wait, your dad?" moment the world might concoct. But mostly, I wake up so fully grateful for every ridiculous minute of this unexpected story.